Welcome to the Legacy Table. Pull up a chair. Now, this isn't a podcast just about family or parenting, but this is a podcast where I want to engage the listeners. So, really think about what am I building within my home, whether intentional or unintentional. You see, I believe that legacy is not something that we just leave when we pass on, but it's something that we build. It's something that we grow into. It's conversations, it's wisdom, it's knowledge that is passed down generationally, but not only when we're not here. So let's think, let's talk. Because whether you realize it or not, you're building something in your home. Is it laid on a healthy foundation, cracked foundation, or no foundation at all? And this podcast is not to bring judgment, far from that. You see, I was 19 when I had my first son, and I had no idea what legacy was, heck, what parenting was. But I chose to do something different than what was done in my household. And from that space, so much was birthed out, the podcast being one. And so I'm ready to engage in conversation, deeper conversation with parents, educators, clinicians, practitioners, and the like. That is what you can expect on the legacy tape because how we respond matters, how we communicate matters, and what we ignore matters most. Intergenerational healing is something that I am dedicated to seeing, not just in my home, but in the homes of the people that I get to connect with. So let's be clear, this space is for all of us. Yes, you will cry. Yes, you will laugh. Yes, I am going to make you think. I'm going to speak directly to moms and I'm going to call fathers up too, because they're the ones who lead the homes. And when they are misplaced, so much else is misplaced. So I am so excited to be back, y'all. This has been a necessary pause, but we're coming back with more fire, fun, wisdom, knowledge, and learning. Get your table and your chair. Let's create. Some of us are trying to build something different, but we're skating over the fact that we have to unpack where we came from. You see, legacy is definitely something that is passed on generationally. But I am so under the mindset that whatever I receive that is unhealthy and it does not serve where I'm going in the future or what I'm building, I am going to unlearn it and I'm going to have to take on the journey of relearning. That is a part of being intentional with what we build in our legacy. I don't want someone to talk about me in my death and say, this is what they did, this is what they did, this is how they were. But I want to be able to have conversation while I'm living about what I'm building, the intentionality behind it, what I'm unlearning, the things that I am learning, what I'm passing on to my children, to those that are in my circle. Legacy, y'all, is not just relegated to our family, but it is for our life. But we absolutely need to make sure that we're setting up our family in a way that it is going to be beneficial for them. When we're talking about generational wealth, when we're talking about generational trauma, when we're talking about generational curses, anything generationally we know is passed down. So I want you to ask yourself this question: what am I building now? And what do I want to pass on? And if your answer is, heck, I don't know what I'm building right now, I'm just living in the moment, that's okay. Because we are going to deal with our mindset, we're going to deal with our heart, we're going to deal with the things that shaped us into being who we are today and learning whether or not what I received is what I need now. Because there is nothing wrong. I'm going to say this again and I'm going to lean in when I say it. There's nothing wrong with saying thank you to the generations that were before us, that brought us in, that showed us the way in which they knew. But now we get to carry it and we get to build something that is going to last beyond hurt, pain, trauma. And it is going to build on the resilience. It's going to build on the joy. It's going to build on the family matters that was. I know, as Black people, sometimes we like to only sit in our pain. But here's the joy about pain: when we learn to unpack it, when we learn to see it for what it is, we can swing from grief into gratitude. Now, don't get me wrong, y'all. This podcast is not just for us as African American or melanated people. This podcast is for everyone. But as a Black woman, as a Black mother raising Black sons, I would be remiss if I did not bring up our history and how history actually shapes some of our legacy. I believe that we can pivot anytime we need to with right information. Now, I don't go based off of if you know better, you do better, because that's not always true. We can know a lot of things. Heck, Proverbs talks about storing up knowledge. Well, what good is storing up knowledge if we never use it? Think about that. How much do you know that you're not using? Maybe because you're scared, maybe because no one showed you how to do it, maybe because you don't want to be the pioneer or the forerunner of the family. But guess what? You probably are. Because if you're listening to this episode, if you're watching me, you're watching a fellow forerunner. I had no idea about legacy, what legacy was, when I was 19 years old and I had a son. I just knew that I needed to work. I wanted to do things a lot differently than what was done in my childhood. But I didn't understand or have any knowledge about generational patterns. I ended up doing a lot of things that my mom did to me that were not beneficial. Now, everything that she did was not wrong. But a vast majority of how I grew up in my childhood, chronically homeless, non affection, lack of emotion, zero communication, because y'all remember, y'all millennials know, some of us were, you stay in a child's place, you're seen and not heard. I didn't want to pass that on to my children. I didn't want to be the mom that was creating chaos within them, that they felt like they needed to walk on eggshells in their own home. And so I had to deal with me. I had to deal with my stuff. I had to unpack those things. I had to unpack the mother wound. I had to unpack the father wound. I had to really sit and ask myself the hard questions. Now, I didn't do this by myself, y'all, okay? With my therapist, with the help of the Lord, within trusted community. And what I noticed is that I've always been that girl, okay? Or that woman. But I assimilated. I acted as if I did not know how to become. And honestly, in points of my life, I didn't know how to become, because I just wanted to blend in. But as a forerunner, as a pioneer, as a blueprint, we don't fit in. We stand out. We create lanes, pathways, bridges for others to be able to walk on. That's a part of legacy. When your kids see you, what do they see? When your boss sees you, what do they see? If you're your own boss, what do you see in yourself? This is how I see it, y'all. As a mother or a father, these are our roles. As a doctor, this is a role. As a wife, it is a role. Are these roles important? Absolutely. They morph around our identity. But if we don't know who we are, what we desire, who we belong to, then we begin to allow those roles to become our identity. And that's not how it's supposed to be. In the beginning, when God created and instituted family, this was literally all the first institution that was created, family. And what did we see that came out of family? The first thing that we seen with the first brothers was jealousy, envy, ultimately what? Murder. And this is why I am so passionate about family, about understanding who we are as individuals, so that we are able to come together collectively to create something that nobody has ever done, or If it's already been done, we're adding on to it. Why? Because we want to make and create and build healthy legacies. But that truly starts with unpacking. And I know, I know a lot of us are like, I don't want to unpack anything because pain hurts. But as I stated before, when we get to this place of pain where we start to really feel it, like think about when you go get a massage and they're digging into that space in your body and you like, ooh, ow. But it's one of those pains that hurts so good. That's the same thing with healing. It is a pain, yes, that hurts, but it is so good for us to deal with that hurt so that we don't do it again. That's the beauty of unpacking. That's the need to unpack. Because believe it or not, we are building legacy in our homes every single day. Every single day. Wherever you go, you're building something. What you say, you're building something. How you show up, you're building something. So I have another question. What are you building? What are you building? Sometimes we don't have the answers to all of the questions, and that's okay. But what I want you to do from this episode is grab your journal and start to write. What is legacy to me? That's a question. What is it to me? What have I received? What have you received? What are you passing on? Whether it's intentional or unintentional. We are such in a wave on social media, and it's a good wave. It's a good wave. Not all of social media is bad because it can be a blessing and a cursing all in the same breath. But I believe so many of us desire to do things differently and differently in a healthy way, that we want to create an environment for our children, for ourselves, to where we have a soft landing. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a soft landing? But in order for us to create that soft landing, sometimes we have to dig up the fallow ground. We have to get into the foundation that has been cracked and weak and may not even be there, and build something new. So when you think about legacy, I want you to think about the intentionality behind it. I am intentionally creating something different so that I can see the fruit of my labor. Now, when we talk about seeing the fruit of our labor, that doesn't mean that everything that we want to build, we may see with our natural eyes, because it is generational. So some things our children are going to build, some things our grandchildren are going to carry on. But I believe if we are intentional with it, we can lay the right foundation so that they are standing on the shoulders and they're moving up brick by brick by brick. Yes, they're going to have their struggles. Yes, they're going to have their life challenges. Legacy is not about alleviating the struggles of work. Okay. The struggles of work, because we all have to work to get to where we want to be. But I believe that if we can smooth some things out and deal with some things that were there that were swept under the rug, because y'all know how the saying used to go, what happens in the house stays in the house. Yeah, if we can be intentional about breaking down that cycle, well, what does it mean? What happens in the house stays in the house. Now, I'm not saying you go out and you tell everybody your business, because then we have to unpack why you want to do all of that. But we have to make sure that we are structuring our family dynamics in a way that's going to be as healthy as possible. It's not going to be perfect. So, hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying this is about perfection. But this is about overall health, the health of your family, the health of your life, the health of your legacy. Because a healthy legacy can absolutely come from us. I know it's coming from me. And a lot of the things that I experienced in my childhood, it wasn't healthy. But if I stay in that place of what was done to me or what I didn't receive, or being upset and angry at the people who were supposed to guide me, then nothing that I'm building now will be being built because my heart would still be stuck in that place of anger. And so this is why sometimes y'all, you can be like, dang, girl, you said that already. And I did. And I did because I'm repeating certain things to really, really drill it into our mind that this is something that is obtainable. Healthy legacy is obtainable. A healthy you is obtainable, but we absolutely have to do the work. So the last question that I'm going to ask is, are you ready to do the work? If so, meet me back here, pull up a table as we continue the conversation about legacy.